Hi everyone, and welcome to my latest build. For those of you who follow my work, you know that I try to do at least one sci-fi build a year. Now, last year I fell in love with the world of Warhammer tanks, and last Christmas I was given this kit, which is the Castigator, owned by the Sisters of Battle. Now, this is my first ever Warhammer kit, and I was very impressed with the kit itself and the way it went together beautifully. Very little flash, injector marks, or seam lines. The only major issue is that a lot of the components are in two parts. So obviously, once you put those two parts together, you do have to fill and sand back. Now, there's lots of beautiful detail on the parts. However, there's always room for improvement. And what I wanted to do with this build was to try and add some of my armor techniques onto a Warhammer model and see how it all goes. So if that's something of interest to you, then feel free to pull up a chair and we'll go do some modeling. Now, as far as the instructions go, very clear and precise. There are quite a few options for this model, so take care and pick the right ones that you wish to apply to your particular model. And then we have a whole plethora of decals for you to choose from as well. Now, as you can see, we got some lovely detailing. This particular tank seems to have lots of little statues all the way around it, which will be fun to do. We have tracks already molded on, nicely detailed. We do need to do a little bit of work on defining those a little bit better. And then we have two of the side panels again with the little sculptures. But here there's plenty of scope where we can put on some textured armor, some weld beams, etc. So yeah, lots of scope for improvement. So first off, the actual tracks are somewhat molded on the inside underneath. So what I'm doing, I'm just using the sharp end of my tweezers, and I want to just add a little bit more definition to each track so that you can in fact see that they're individual links. So just be very careful, no need to add too much pressure, just keep scraping back on a straight line and you'll soon create an indentation and you can see that the tracks look a lot better afterwards. And then just cover it with a little bit of Tamiya thin just to get rid of the excess plastic. Now, as you can see, there's no rivets on any of these track links. So just going to be using the RP Tools punch and die set. And as you can see, we use some pewter as well. And it's just a matter of picking whatever size hole punch that you want to use. And then gently going through each of the holes. In this particular case, I've gone for 0.8 mil. And then once done, we just use some industrial strength CA glue and we can put that in between the links. And as you can see, that now adds a nice little bit of extra detailing. What I also want to do is some escape hatches and some engine covers as well underneath. So I'm using my eyelet tool here and picking different sizes to create a nice disc effect. So we use some plasticard, thinnest ones that you can get, which I think is 0.25. And then we'll get a sanding stick. So before we take it out, we'll just sand down so that you have a nice, clean, crisp edge. And then getting the tweezers and just pulling that out as such. And then it's just a matter of positioning it where you want to, and then just using some Tamiya extra thin to place that in. There we have two there at the front, and we have the escape hatch there as well. I also added on some more rivets just to add that extra bit of detailing. Now what I'm going to do is to start adding some texture onto the side armament panels. And we have two to do all together. And we're going to be using a Mr. Surfacer 500. Now, as I always say, don't do it from the bottle because otherwise your bottle will just dry out over the months of use. So just take a little bit and put it into a receptacle, get your cut down brush, and then just go along and use a stippling effect, and then that will create all of that texture. Now you're wondering why you're putting texture underneath. Well, this is for the mud texture, because underneath any type of tank or vehicle, you'll get mud and dirt that will solidify and create that type of effect underneath the vehicle. Once that's done, make sure it's completely dry, and then get a sanding stick and smooth out any of the rough edges. So with the underneath of the tank done, it was just a matter of doing the same principle on the side armor to create that effect of cast steel, cast iron. And it was a little bit tricky because there's obviously a lot of detailing, but I was quite happy with the way it all ended. Now, as you can see, we've got some steel panels or iron panels that have been attached to the framework. So we just need to give those a serrated edge to sort of show where they would have been cut in the foundry. And it's just a matter, again, of a very sharp knife, be very careful. At least slice my thumb off doing this. And just go around all of those edges. And then once done, again, get your Tamiya thin just to soften up all of those edges. And that creates a nice effect that will come out well once painted. Now also we need to put in some weld beams. So there's no weld seams at all. For those of you following my work, you'll know that I use metal fuse wire along with CA glue, and it's just a matter of gluing that in place. There is a how-to video on my site if you want to see this in more detail, and I do this a lot more on the turret, and I'll show you in a bit more detail how to do it. But for now, this is the effects that you get, and I was really pleased with how that turned out. So as you can see, we have the base and the sides and the now done. Putting it together, it's fitted like a glove. It's beautiful kit, really does go together well, no issues whatsoever. Now we had some extra track links that had to be done. Again, had to be riveted inside and out. Love this little track link there, nice bit of detail. Looking forward to getting that painted up. And then it was a matter of clamping on the front end. As you can see, that had cast texture added to it as well. And there's also a gun in there as well that was made up. Now we also have the side pods. So we'll have a look at that in a little bit more detail. Because you do have an option, if you don't want to have them open and have the sponsons out, you can have it all closed out up, and you have these doors that come with the kit as well. So the choice is yours. Now, like I say, there's a few seam lines, so just run through how I do it. So first off, what we need to do is to get rid of the sprue attachment marks. So using a very sharp knife and the sanding stick, we'll get rid of those. And then we'll get the PE scraping tool. Ideal piece of kit just to scrape those seam lines back so that when you paint them they can't be seen at all, and it does look like a smooth piece of metal. And again, once that's all done, it's a matter of getting the Tamiya extra thin, take off most of the excess glue, and then just brush over it, and that brings it all together and gets rid of any excess bits of plastic. Now there were two of these altogether, but after a little while of cleaning up, really pleased with how they came out. Now we have some 4 side burners. They have a coal at the top, so you can have the one where you have the embers showing, or you can have the flames. Now, if you go for the ones with the flames, which I'm showing you here, your turret will not be able to turn all the way around. So bear that in mind. So because of that, I decided to go just for the embers look. but if you do need to, the kit comes with both options. Just to add a little bit of detail, I got the Dremel out with the drill bit, and it was just a matter of going on to each hole and just drilling them out individually. And as you can see, it's a bit of a messy job, but well worth doing, as it does add a nice bit of realism, if a Warhammer tank can be realistic. As I said earlier, a lot of the parts are two half components. So I sort of came up with a bit of a production line, put all the two half parts together all at once. Then I heavily fill the seam line with glue, and once that's dry, I then sand that all the way back along with the sprue attachments, and that will give you hopefully a fine and level finish. If not, feel free to add a little bit of filler in there as well. Takes a lot of time to do, but well worth it in the end. Now we're going to look at magnetization a lot more in the other episodes of this build, but I just added a couple of magnets onto the bazooka at the back, and that went really well, so that can be taken on and off as you wish, being the gamer, with your attack points, etc. Managed to get hold of some lovely little resin skulls. I thought they'd make a nice little extra detailing on the front of the vehicle. As you can see, I also added on some really chunky weld beams. Now these are the sponsons on the side. These are fully rotatable. They also go up and down. A very nice addition, and I prefer to have these than just have the closed doors. So those were put together and added on. And here's some more final shots. And as we run through the final shots, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to all of my subscribers, old and new. Thank you very much for your continued help and support, and I hope you've enjoyed this build. And in the next episode, we'll look at more detail of the construction of the turret and finishing off the model before painting. So in the meantime, everyone, happy modelling.